Yes, you can skin an acoustic guitar. Hey, it's John with INZANE Skins. I just skinned this bad boy. Stay tuned, I'm going to show you how I did it. All right, so the way I start all of my skinning jobs is to use tracing paper. So I have tracing paper down here. I put my guitar on top and I draw out the shape. Okay, so in this instance, because this bridge cannot be removed, what I'm gonna have to do is trim out a section of my skin prior to actually laying it down, which is not normal. Typically, I don't do any cuts on, let's say on an electric guitar. I just lay my skin and then I go cut the perimeter and then I will trim out the cavities. But in this case, because we can't remove this, and it is an obstacle because once we lay the skin, once we get to this area, it's going to buckle and do all kinds of weird things. So I will have to cut out a small section in here, and then I'm going to make slits on the corners to open it up, to open the skin up. What I want to happen is as I'm laying the skin, those slits and this little pocket that I'm going to trim out here is going to allow the skin to kind of open almost like a box, like when you open the lid of a box, right? It opens it up, and that will allow me to get the skin down flat all in here. So once I've done that, then I can proceed to skinning the rest. But this is the obstacle that we have to work around. So now that I have my shape drawn out, I'm going to put it in place here. And while holding in place, I'm going to draw the shape of the bridge. Second, and while I'm at it, I might as well trim out this or draw this section here. That'll help me sort of line it up. Okay. So let me show you what I'm going to do on paper before we lay down the skin. So I have a rough outline of my bridge here. Okay. I'm actually going to trim this much, like this. Okay. So this section is going to be cut out. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a slit here, a slit here, a slit here, and a slit here that goes sort of to the edge of the bridge's end, the bridge's ends. Okay, so as I lay my skin and I push the skin up against here, the slit will open up, and then I'll be able to flatten it all around, and then once that's flat, then I can proceed. Cutting board is in place, and fresh blade from my X-Acto knife, and now I can trim it out, the template. Okay, my skin is trimmed down, and now with a fresh blade, I'm going to cut out this middle section. That's it. And I'm not going to slit right to the edges yet, but I am going to create some slits. There. So what that'll do now is allow me, or at least help me, and then once I'm doing it, I'll probably grab my blade and then just increase the slit as needed. Well, what I find is when I'm applying a skin to an acoustic, I tend to, if I were to do it right to the edge, that's an overcut, which is really, really strange. So once I get the skin down, I want there to be less of a cut. That way I can just incrementally just add to the slit as per needed. Sounds like an office explanation, but anyway, that will, slitting it just a little bit at a time will allow me to get a close to perfect cut around the bridge, which is what I'm striving for. I don't know if the camera's picking this up, but there is a single strip of binding that I wasn't sure how I wanted to handle it, but I've decided that I am going to lay knifeless tape, and I'm going to use the knifeless tape to trim the skin. And what I'm going to do is preserve that binding on top, because I love binding around a skin. It just frames the skin really, really nicely. So I'm going to lay knifeless tape first, then I will come back, apply the skin, and then I will trim the perimeter of the skin with the knifeless tape. If you've watched any of my other videos, you will know that I use knifeless tape for pretty much all of the trimming of skins. So as you can see, here's a knifeless tape, and it's a green, a very thin, clear tape. And then you can see the wire that runs down the middle. Okay, so in laying the knifeless tape, you can see the binding here, and I want that wire to sit on that side. Okay, I want it to be on the outside, okay, rather than on the inside, because if I did it on the inside and I trim, you're going to see that this awful wood color. So I want to make sure that as I'm laying the knifeless tape, I'm really careful to make sure that I'm right on top of the cream and that none of the wood is exposed. These corners cannot be done in one piece, just too sharp. So I run it off the edge and then I start another piece. So what I'm doing is I'm holding the roll in this hand, my left hand, and it's just holding it above but close to the body, and then with my finger on my right hand, my index finger, I'm laying it exactly where I want it to go. And if I miss, I will lift and reposition. Here is some quick progress on laying the knifeless tape. And here's where I've stopped, pulled my camera off to show you guys, and I will continue. Okay, knifeless tape's been laid, and I have my skin somewhat in place, but I'm gonna keep checking to make sure it's exactly where I want it to be. Plus, the most important part at this point is lining up this bridge, lining up this cavity that I've cut, and making sure that the positioning is where I want it to be. So what I'm doing is I'm feeling with my fingers the edge of the bridge, and it looks to be where I want it to be. However, I think I want to come back a little bit, like so. Yeah, probably right there. So once I have that in place, I'm going to tape it here. And I'm going to tape it over here. And one thing that I do want to do before I peel back the backing is I want to trim part of this section of the neck out. Because once I lay the skin to here, once I get to here, there's no relief, so I won't be able to press this down. So what I'm going to do is just kind of cut a notch here. Just like so. And it goes quite a bit in here. Gotta be careful I don't pull it off though. I'm moving it and I don't want to do that. So I think I need to stick. Yeah, it's not even sticking. Let me grab another piece. There. Okay. So it seems to be okay, but it moved. All right, so it moved, so I have to readjust here. There and there. Yeah, it moved. There and there. A little bit. There and there. Okay. Not a precise cut, I'm just giving myself some relief so these pieces can go down along the sides like that once I apply the skin. Using a little bit of tape here to just lift the skin and make sure there's nothing on the surface. Okay, center goes down first, and then I work my way to the edges like that. It's perfect. So I have these slits, and as you'll see in a second how it's going to help once I lift this section. So this part's going to take a little bit because there's going to be some cutting at the same time. Zato blade ready to go. Hold it down here while I get to this. So again, like I said, see how this is lifting? See this piece? It's exactly what I need to happen, because that's going to help me lay the skin around the bridge. Okay. Working out. There's a little bit of buckling going on right now over here, so it's going to take a few lifts, and it might even take a little bit of heat. And this is all as a result of that bridge being in the way. Okay. Let me take this, cut this piece off because it's kind of in my way. If I haven't mentioned it in this video, I use it's called an air release vinyl. And the air release, what it has little pockets on the adhesive portion back of the skin. So if you get any kind of air bubbles, it's very easy to work those air bubbles out. Okay, so and this is what I mean by just slitting it just a little bit. Move a little closer. So I'm just doing a very tiny slit so I can do this and push that skin down along the edge right there. Okay, same thing on the other side, just minor slits. There we go. Perfect. I'm going to actually trim the perimeter first, then I will come back and do all this, because this requires much more precise work. So I'd rather do the knifeless tape part first and then come back and tackle this. All right, got my hair dryer plugged in, and I'm just going to blast this with a little bit of heat. And the idea of what I'm doing here is I'm trying to set the adhesive to the knifeless tape, because then when I trim, those two being very tight together will give me a much more precise cut. So remember, this is now done in 3 pieces. This piece for knifeless tape. So let me get this in the camera. This piece, then that whole piece, and then the final piece. Okay, so if you've not watched any of my videos, let me give you a refresher. Or if you've never watched these videos, let me show you what I do. So, what I've learned with using knifeless tape is it's sort of tricky to get started, to actually pull the wire through the skin, because the skin has a laminate. So typically the skins are 3 micrometers, but then with the laminate, you're adding another 2 to 3. So it's a little bit thicker, a little bit more dense, and that just it's just a little bit trickier to get the wire through. So the first thing that I do is I actually find where the knifeless tape, where the wire is on the skin, and I put a slit to help me get started. Okay, so now I have a cut, and it actually goes onto the skin, which is what I want. First part is you're removing a little bit of the green, and then you're separating the wire from the green, and you're going to pass it through your little snip. So what you want to do is hold your skin on this side, okay, so where I've passed the wire through, I want to hold it tight right here to help me get started. So this is just a quick pass, okay? That's just a little piece. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on this next piece. And once I've cut it all, then I'm going to come back and remove all the green. Okay, same thing again. Going to find my edge right here. And I have to lift it up off the skin because I don't want to cut through the knifeless tape. Otherwise, what I've just done would be useless. Okay. Again, I'm going to push down. Separate, hold tight right here on the end as I pull my wire. Okay, and as I'm going, because I'm not in a hurry, I want to make sure I get a nice clean cut, so I keep coming back here and securing the skin. Okay, last little bit. Okay, pull through and then hold it tight right here. And then even right here, because this is such a tricky area, because you're right up against the neck, but okay. So the wire comes out of the green tape, and so what happens is you have two pieces of green tape. So you have to lift your skin to get both pieces. You want to remove both pieces. So here we have, see that? Two pieces. So we have to do that for the entire thing. Okay. Two pieces. Two pieces. A piece broke right here, so I have to lift the skin to get that piece out. Nope. All right, I did get it all. And then final piece, two pieces. There we go. All right, so that was actually the easier part of trimming, believe it or not. The knifeless tape is great stuff. It does take a little bit of getting used to how to work with it, how hard to pull. And as you noticed, I was pulling the wire low, not up here, but I was pulling it low and trying to follow the line. So that makes it more accurate. So now I can go back around here and press that down again. Once I'm done all the trimming, I will come back and secure it all. Okay, I've popped the camera off. Let me show you the trim. And as you can see, you're not seeing any of the wood because I laid down the knifeless tape pretty accurate. And I'm going to clean up a couple of little spots here and there. But overall, pretty good job with the knifeless tape. So now I'm going to come back in and trim up the sound hole and the bridge. Okay, so what I'm going to do is trim the skin around the neck first. And typically I use a ruler. So that gives me a 1/16 of an inch. So the skin will actually have a little bit of a lip that goes up the neck, which is what I prefer. Might have to switch out my blade. That might not have been sharp. Blade might not be sharp. Okay. And I hold my ruler down tight because I want a nice straight cut. Okay, same thing with the bridge. I'm going to use my ruler to get a nice straight cut. Okay, got to slit just a little bit more here to get this flat. There we go. There. So now I can get this ruler right against the bridge. Once the entire thing is cut, I will pop off the camera and show you the cut. And this one, because it's not straight, I'm going to have to do that by hand as well. So let me do the other side. Okay, this cut is probably the trickiest one. So I'm actually not following the edge at the bottom of the bridge. I'm actually probably about halfway up, because once I've cut it, the skin will now be able to be pushed down. Okay, perfect. So there, now I will pop the camera off in a second and show you. That's exactly why I do it that way, because don't want any of the body exposed. All right, camera has popped off. Let me show you the results. Quite honestly, it would have been cooler if I had some sort of rosette around the sound hole, but it is what it is. Here is the bridge.